All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name's Nicole, and welcome back to our English class. Welcome back to another session on connected speech. It's great to see you all here, to dive deeper into how English sounds in real world conversations. Last time, we had a really thorough look at linking, which is under connected speech, understanding how words smoothly connect, like get up or go on to make our speech flow without those awkward pauses. You all did a fantastic job practicing that. Today, we are moving on to some equally fascinating and important aspects of connected speech. As you can see on our slide, elision and assimilation. This marks the start of Pronunciation Lecture 2 in our Connected Speech series. Now, don't let those big words, elision and assimilation, scare you. They might sound a bit technical. Well, yes, they are technical in a way, but the ideas behind them are quite simple and happen all the time when we speak naturally. Basically, these are the, other ways that sounds in words change when they're next to each other. Sometimes a sound might disappear completely. That is elision, and other times a sound might change to become more like its neighbor or the one beside it. That is assimilation. Just like with linking, understanding elision and assimilation is super crucial for two main reasons. First, it helps your own spoken English sound even more natural and fluent, just like native English speakers. And second, and perhaps even more immediately helpful, it will significantly improve your listening comprehension. When sounds disappear or change, it can be really confusing if you are not expecting it. But once you know these patterns, what might have sounded like a mumble before will suddenly make perfect sense. You'll be able to hear and understand English conversations more easily than ever. So, for today's session, we will start with elision. Okay? We will cover only elision for today's session because covering all two in one session might not be really a good idea for me. I don't want you to bombard with different concepts. I want you to really understand each concept really well so that you can practice it also really well in conversational settings. Okay? So we are going to start with elision for today, and then we will have assimilation for tomorrow. We will end our week with the topic on assimilation. Okay? So get ready to open your ears as well as your minds once again. We're going to break down elision into easy to understand parts with lots of examples. Let's make your English sound even more amazing here. Okay? Now, before we jump into our new topic on elision, let's quickly do a little review on connected speech, as this slide perfectly sets the stage for today. Because elision as well as assimilation, again, they are under connected speeches. That is why I put in there on the title slide lecture 2, meaning that this is a continuation on the topic that we've discussed or we've talked about yesterday in our previous session. Yesterday, we talked about connected speech, we specify on linking. Today, we continue with elision and assimilation, which is under connected speech also. But we are going to focus on elision for today. Okay? As a quick reminder, the first point in our review slide states that linking connects words for smoother flow. Now, this is what we focused on last time. Remembering how a word ending in a consonant can link to a word starting with a vowel, or how two vowel sounds can connect with a little W or Y sound in between. Now, you are going to understand it. If you're still confused, just watch the discussion that we had yesterday. I had a thorough discussion, a lengthy discussion on linking. Okay, now here it's all about making those sentences roll off the tongue easily without any choppy pauses. So, this smooth flow is exactly why it's common in fluent natural English, which is our second bullet. If you listen to native speakers, English native speakers, you will hear linking happening constantly. It is a core part of sounding natural, not just speaking quickly. Today, we are building on that foundation of smoothness and naturalness. Our review slide perfectly introduces what's coming next, which is today's focus is on what happens when sounds disappear, elision, or transform, assimilation. But again, our focus for today is on disappearing sounds, which is on elision. Okay? Now, again, these are other major ways that English sounds get adjusted in natural conversation, those two that I've mentioned, elision and assimilation. Just like linking, mastering these two will not only help you speak more authentically, like naturally, but it will also significantly boost your listening comprehension. No, like because you are able to make those fast everyday conversations much clearer to your ears. Because again, there are times that when we talk with someone who's a native English speaker or not an English native speaker, but the one who can speak English, there are times that we cannot really understand them. It's either because they speak too fast or it's because of the words that they are using, which is usually connected speech, which is usually elided or assimilated, meaning that it's usually some sounds. It doesn't look like they do not read, they do not speak the words just the way it is written. Okay, because it's more natural in that way. So let's really concentrate on what the first part of our slide tells us of a solid base or solid understanding of what elision is before we try to practice it, and um, we try to really do this in action. Okay, now here, elision is when a sound is left out or dropped when we speak English, especially at normal or fast speed. This means a sound that you would normally hear. So if you say a single word by itself, you usually make every sound in it, right? But when that word becomes part of a sentence and people are like talking at their usual speed or when they're talking very quickly, then some of these sounds simply do not get spoken. No, they that you hear. It is like the sound spoken English. It is a regular part of how English sounds when people speak it naturally. So when you are listening to English conversations, English speeches, you will often find that not every single sound that you see written down in a word is actually made or heard. Okay? The sound just vanishes. Some sounds in the words in the sentence vanishes. It leaves no sign behind it in the fast stream of speech. Okay? Now let's look very very closely at the second part of this slide. This part helps us understand the main reason why people drop these sounds when they speak. It says instead of saying every single sound clearly and slowly, people usually connect sounds together. So if a sound is hard to say between two other sounds, it often disappears. This is how native English speakers speak naturally. Now, this happens because the way we use our mouths, okay? We use our mouths to speak, right? So the way we use our mouths to speak is all about making things easy and fast. Basically, we try to use our mouth to speak in a more convenient way. So when we talk, the parts of our mouth that helps us make sounds, like our tongue, our lips, and our jaw, they are always moving. So these parts of our mouth, the ones I mentioned, they are called articulators. Okay? Articulators. The tongue, the lips, the jaw, even the teeth, they are articulators. They have each of them has responsibilities into forming a whole one sound. Okay? Now they move very very quickly. They change their positions fast to make the long line of sounds that become words and then full sentences. But sometimes when certain sounds come right next to each other in a sentence, it can be quite difficult for our mouths to make them. So it can be hard to make all the quick and different movements that are needed for those sounds. For example, your tongue might need to go to one place in your mouth for a sound, then right after, it needs to quickly move to a totally different place for the next sound. And then maybe it needs to go back again for a third sound. This can be very, very hard work for your mouth to do so fast. It might even make you stop your breath for a tiny moment or make your tongue twist in an awkward way. So even it can make you use a lot of muscle strength just to make that one small sound perfect when you're trying to speak quickly. Now, in these situations, everyone, when a sound would be hard to say between two other sounds, our mouth, it automatically finds an easier way to speak, a more convenient way to speak. The sound that causes this difficulty, the one that is hard to make, it is very often just not said at all. Like our mouth tried to choose to not say it at all. Because why make it harder for yourself when we can just remove what makes it difficult for us to speak? That's like, that's basically what it's trying to say. It simply disappears from what you hear. So this allows your tongue and your mouth to move much more smoothly. They move directly from the sound that came before the difficult sound to the sound that comes right after it. So this takes away the stop, it takes away the awkward moment, or as well as awkward movement. It takes away the extra effort that was needed for that tricky sound in the middle. This way of making sounds simpler helps English speech flow much more easily and quickly. It also helps to keep, a steady, natural beat when people are talking. This means that there are no small uncomfortable stops or breaks that would happen if every single sound had to be said separately and perfectly. So this whole process, it makes spoken English sound very smooth and connected. It is simply how native English speakers speak naturally. So they do this without even having to think about it. They're not trying to drop sounds. They are, it just happens naturally as they speak. This is a very important reason why the sounds of spoken English are often different from how words look when you read them. So it is a part of everyday conversations. Okay? All right. Okay. Let's move on to the next slide for a moment. Let me just quickly check if my slide is okay. Okay. All good. Let's continue. All right. Now, why does elision happen? I've already mentioned it a while ago, but let's just, try to also mention it here again. Why does elision happen? Now, first, for a moment. First, of course, it is speak faster. Just for a while. Okay. Now, why does elision happen? Again, to speak faster, meaning that when sounds are dropped, we can simply say words more quickly. Okay. Second, it helps to make sentences flow more easily. So words connect without breaks, making the whole sentence smoother. And third, elision helps to save south movement and to save mouth. I'm sorry, to save mouth movement and breath when talking. So our mouths don't have to work as hard for every sound. Lastly, and there's still last pa. Lastly, it happens because of English rhythm. English has a beat where some parts of a sentence are stronger, which is the stressed part, and others are lighter or the unstressed part. And dropping sounds helps keep this rhythm natural. Okay? All right. Let's continue. Elision is most common when there are many consonant sounds in a row. So think about it. Consonant sounds need your mouth, need your tongue, need your lips to stop the air or to make a small block. When many of these stopping or blocking sounds come one after another, it can be quite hard for your mouth to make each one clearly and quickly. It requires a lot of fast, exact movements. So to make speaking easier and faster, easier and not just faster, easier and smoother. Let's just say smoother instead of faster. To make your speaking easier and smoother, your mouth often chooses to drop one of these sounds. Sorry, to drop one of these sounds. So this helps to break up the difficult chain of consonant sounds, which make the word or phrase much simpler and smoother and, let's just say, faster to say. It allows your mouth basically to move forward without getting stuck on a tricky series of sounds. Okay? Second, elision is also very common when words are unstressed or said quickly. When we talk, some words are more important, right? When like the words that are stressed, and we say them with more force or loudness, or we hold them a little bit longer. These are the stressed words. As I've mentioned, other words are less important in the sentence, and we say them more lightly or softly. So these are unstressed words. They are usually prepositions, articles, and such. When words are unstressed, we naturally give them less attention, and the sounds within them are more likely to disappear. Also, when we simply speak quickly, our mouth does not have long enough time or does not put in the effort to make every single sound perfectly. So, in fast speech, sounds often get dropped to keep up the speed. Your mouth moves through the words quickly, and some sounds are just passed over to maintain that speed. Third, we hear elision happening a lot when we are speaking in a relaxed, informal way. This means in everyday conversations, like when you are talking with your friends, okay, um, or friends or family or people well. In these relaxed situations, people do not try to speak every word perfectly or very carefully, like in formal settings. They do not do that. They speak comfortably. This comfort and lack of strictness allows sounds to drop more often. So, in more formal speaking situations, like giving a speech or reading a formal announcement, people might try to make every sound clearer. But in casual everyday talk, the body naturally finds ways to be more relaxed and save effort. And dropping sounds is one of those ways. Finally, and this is a very important point from the slide, elision is not wrong. Okay, remember that. It is a normal part of spoken English. This means that you should not think of elision as a mistake or bad English. Native speakers use it all the time without even knowing it. It is a natural part of how English sounds when spoken fluently. It is simply how the language works to make speech flow easily and quickly. So accepting this helps you understand why spoken English sounds the way it does, and it encourages you to listen for these changes without thinking they are errors. Basically, it is a key feature of sounding natural. So it's very important that we try to accept them and of course practice them in real life. Okay? Now, we already had a foundational understanding, right? We've talked about what elision is, why it matters, and when elision is commonly used. Now we have an example. We have, set of examples here. Now it really shows us exactly how sounds disappear when people speak English in a natural way. So we will now go through each example in this table very carefully, understanding step by step what happens to the sounds. Okay? These are just, pattern some pattern where sound disappears. We are going to have a more thorough examples later on our next um how do you call that, on our next slide. Okay, we're going to have that more thorough example. For now, let's identify the common patterns where sound usually disappears in a conversational settings or in a casual setting, casual conversational talk. Okay, first let's look at the very first row in the table. Here the slide tells us that the sound that disappears, so for the three columns we have sound that disappears, example, which is full form, and then the shorter spoken form, which is our elision already. Okay, all right, let's have the first pattern, which is T and D. Now, so the sounds that we make for T and D are often the ones that go away. Okay, this slide gives us the example for full form of the word friendship. There's clearly letter D there, right? Friendship. It's right in the middle. So if you say the word friendship slowly and clearly, taking your time, you will hear the D sound very strongly. Okay? Your tongue, it kind of like touches the roof of your mouth just behind your front teeth to make that D sound, right? Try saying D, and you will know that the place or the location where your tongue is. Okay, let's try to say it. D, D, D. The sound of letter D is just like how it is said. D, D. So the tongue, where is it? It is right behind our front teeth, our upper teeth, no, and it touches the roof of our mouth. That's how we make the sound of letter D. D. But when we look at the shorter spoken form, it becomes friendship. The letter D is missing. Now this means that when people say friendship, okay, with letter D clearly spoken, friendship, in an when we say it in a normal speaking way, in a casual way, in a conversational way, or when they speak quickly, they often do not make that D sound at all. They completely remove the letter D sound. Okay? Their tongue does not stop to touch the roof of the mouth for the D sound between the N sound and the sh sound or the SH sound. That is the neighboring sounds of letter D, right? N and SH sounds. So, um, our tongue, usually does not stop to touch the roof of the mouth for coming up or for creating the letter D sound. So, instead, here, our tongue moves directly from making the N sound to making the SH sound. Okay? For a moment. All right. So, yeah, it basically removed the letter D sound first and then connect the sounds of N and SH. So these sounds again are the neighboring sounds of letter D, which was removed earlier. Okay? So this makes it much easier for your mouth to move and also makes the word quicker to say. So the D sound simply disappears. It helps the word to flow more smoothly in spoken English. Okay? That is the rule or the pattern of T and D. So that is on friendship. All right. Let's move on to the next pattern. Here we have a schwa sound. Now it looks like in IPA transcription, IPA guide, the IPA symbol for a schwa sound is an upside down E. Okay? Again, what is an IPA? IPA means International Phonetic Alphabet, meaning that it is a guide for pronunciation. Because again, we know, right, that the English alphabet has only 26 letters, but the English sounds has 44, if I'm not mistaken, 44 sounds in total, meaning that it is not 1:1. Like one alphabet has only one sound. So there are alphabets in the English alphabet. There are letters in the English alphabet that produces produces multiple sounds, which makes the English as a whole, as a language, really complex and complicated. That is why we have the IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet. It it came up to address this problem. So the IPA transcription, the IPA or the International Phonetic Alphabet, it has all the symbols for all sounds in English. So meaning this is 1:1. One symbol is for one sound. Okay? Now, one of the symbols is the schwa sound. It is the upside down E that you see right here in the center, the second one. Okay, this schwa sound is a very common, very weak sound that you often hear in unstressed parts of words. So like UH, That's the sound that the schwa sound creates. So it almost, if not all the time, I think all the time, you can really you can really see a schwa sound. You can hear a schwa sound. I mean, you can hear a schwa sound in all sentences that you can create. There will always be a schwa sound there. Because schwa sound is not only, specific to one vowel, like it could be letter E, but no, it is for all vowels, e, I, O. So it's for all vowels, and yeah, that's why you can really literally hear schwa sound all the time when you speak, when you come up with sentences or even phrases, or sometimes words. Okay, so that the sound that the schwa sound is creating is an sound, a very quick sound, UH. Okay, so the example we have here is camera. Camera. If you say the word camera very slowly and carefully, you might hear a small, very light sound in the middle word, or in the middle of the word, right? Almost like camera. So after the letter M, you hear that schwa sound, ma, camera. Again, camera. So camera. But the shorter spoken form of camera, that the slide shows for this word is camera. Again, camera. This means that when people speak camera in their everyday conversations, they very often do not like make that weak sound in the middle at all. Your mouth doesn't need to open or prepare for that extra vowel sound. Instead, your mouth goes straight from making the M sound to making the R sound. This makes the word shorter to say and faster to get out. It is a common way that people simplify words in natural speech by taking out a weak vowel sound that is not important for understanding the word. Okay? Finally, let's look at the last row of the table. This row shows that sometimes even full syllables can disappear. A syllable is, again, we understand that a syllable is a part of a word that has one main vowel sound, and sometimes whole parts like that can go away or change greatly. Now, example we have here is going to. Okay, this is a phrase, going to. Now, if you say these two words very slowly and clearly, you fully say both going and to. As two separate small words, you make the full T sound and the full U vowel sound from to. But the shortest spoken form for this phrase is gonna. Okay? Gonna. One word. Going to is changed as gonna. Here, almost the entire to part changes into something very different or almost disappears, which becomes just an sound, or being blended into the previous word. This is a very common way that spoken English saves effort and time instead of making two clear, separate small words like going to. Speakers put them together into one very short, quick sound. Your tongue does not make the clear T sound from to at all, and the vowel sound changes. It changes a lot, or it just, vanishes into the next sound. This makes the whole phrase, it makes the whole phrase much quicker and much easier to just say in normal, fast conversation. Okay? So that's it. Now, these examples are these patterns. It clearly shows us, the exact ways that elision works in real words and phrases. They help us see how sounds that are fully present when we say words alone can disappear or change when we try to speak at a normal quick pace, or at a normal or quick pace. Okay, this helps people make sounds flow very smoothly and makes their words simpler to say. So, which is, of course, it's very natural, and it is important part of how spoken English sounds. Okay, all right. Now let's move on for a moment. Let me just see if my screen is totally okay. I had to constantly check my screen because we don't know if my screen is stuck or not, and I keep talking here. So as much as possible, we try to minimize any technical errors. Okay. So my screen is okay, it's all good. All right, let's continue. Again, as I've mentioned earlier, I have provided first the patterns, not patterns with its examples, patterns where elision usually happens. Sorry. So with it's of course with its examples, and I've mentioned earlier that we are going to go through a more detailed and thorough example, everyday examples of elision. Okay? All right. For a moment. Now we have here a table. Can you see the table? Let me just check. I think it's very small. Let me just adjust my table. Okay. All right. I hope you can see it now. Let me just check for a moment. I'm also constantly checking in my phone, you know, aside from a laptop, because we don't know what will happen. Okay. I think all good. Or let me just go um size it up a bit more. You know, just for you to clearly see it. All right. Okay. All right. Okay, all good. Now, yeah, we can see it now. All right, let's have the first example. Uh, again, this new slide, first, again, this new slide, it gives us everyday examples of elision. It will truly helps us understand in a very deep way exactly how sounds disappear in words and sentences when people speak English naturally in their daily lives. So sorry. I'm so sorry. Now we will try to understand step by step, okay? Very slowly so that we can really ingest or remember what we are discussing today. Now, what happens to sound in each single case, we will remember that and why change makes speaking easier. Okay? All right. Okay. Excuse me for a moment. Okay. All right. Let's continue. Let us begin with the first example, first full sentence that we have here. I do not know. Very simple. Now, if you take your time and say this sentence very slowly and clearly paying attention to each word, you will easily make and hear every single sound, right? I do not know. You make a very clear T sound at the very end of the word not. Your tongue pushes against the top of your mouth and then you release a small puff of air for that T sound. T, T. So there's really a puff of sound. T, T. Okay. But when people speak this phrase in everyday life, they often make it much shorter, meaning that they would say in the elided version, or yeah, the version for elision, I don't know. I don't know. What really happens here is that the T sound that you usually make at the end of the word, not, it simply disappears completely. It is not there anymore. So when people say do not know quickly, their tongue doesn't need to stop its movement and make that small exact T sound right before it moves to the make. It moves right. It moves to make the K sound, which is the K sound here in I don't know. is nowhere in the first place. It's a silent letter. Okay? So you can think about it. You stop for the T and then move to the, let's just say, the N sound, which takes two separate steps. Instead, your tongue moves smoothly and directly from the N sound, from the no, which straight into the N sound that comes right after it. So this makes the whole phrase much, much quicker to say. And it is also much, much easier for your mouth to do. This helps speech go faster, which is, of course, very useful in quick talking. You save the small pause and the tiny push of air that the T sound needs. And this allows your speech to flow without any little stops or breaks. Okay? All right. Let's move on to, that's for the first sentence, first example sentence, which we usually say, which we usually use in casual conversations. We have I do not know or I don't know in elided version. Next, let's move on to the second line. I am going. The full and proper way to this to say this sentence is I am going to eat now. Now you say each of these words clearly and separately when you speak slowly. You make the full sound for going and the full clear sound for to. But when people speak this sentence naturally in their conversations, they often change it and say I'm gonna eat now. Here the words going to is going to become gonna. Going to become gonna. So the separate words going and to do not stay separate at all. They blend together very, very strongly to form one new, much shorter sound. So the G sound at the end of going, which is part of the NG sound, a nasal sound, um, it often becomes very soft or is not fully said at all. And the entire word to, it changes a lot or almost disappears, right? The T sound that you normally make in the word to is completely dropped. And the long oo vowel sound that you usually hear in to, it changes into a very simple ah sound as in gonna, gonna. So your mouth puts going and to together into one single, very quick sound. You didn't make the clear, crisp T sound for to at all. Okay? And the vowel sound either changes a lot or just vanishes as your mouth makes the connection to the next sound. So this makes the whole sentence much, much faster to say. It also much simpler for your mouth to do, which saves a lot which saves a lot of effort in speaking quickly. All right, let's move on to the next one. Let's have the next full and proper sentence. The full complete sentence is she took a picture with the camera. She took a picture with the camera. Now, if you say each word in this sentence very carefully, you can hear every sound, which includes, a a small sound in the middle of camera. But when people speak this sentence naturally, they often say she took a picture with camera. She took a picture with camera. What happens here is that a weak vowel sound, which is the schwa sound, a small ah sound that we've mentioned earlier, because camera is the example that we used for the pattern, the schwa pattern, right? Earlier. Okay, let's go back to that slide. This one, right? The second one. All right. Now here, that small sound, the schwa sound, it disappears inside the word camera. In the full word camera, you might make a tiny light sound between the M sound and the R sound, almost like camera, camera, camera. Okay, camera. However, when people say the word camera quickly, that weak sound, that schwa sound right in the middle of camera, it simply disappears completely. Your mouth does not need to open for the tiny extra vowel sound. Your tongue moves directly from making the M sound to making the R sound. This makes the word camera much shorter to say. It also makes it much quicker to say. So this small change helps the whole sentence move along more easily when you speak at a normal speed. So it It basically reduces the number of small steps your mouth has to take. So we try to make it more convenient for your mouth. Okay? All right. Okay. Let me just quickly check my screen. Oh, what happened? For a moment. Let me correct it. Let me fix it. Because I think it's cropped a bit at the end. Okay. Okay, let me check again. All right, it's all good now. All right, continuing with the fourth sentence. The full sentence, if we say it slowly, fish and chips is my favorite dish. Fish and chips is my favorite dish. Now you might wonder why you know, the word is used instead of are because it's fish and chips. Everyone, fish and chips is one thing, not a multiple thing. So we use a singular word to a singular yeah, we use a singular verb to modify it. Fish and chips is my favorite dish instead of fish and chips are my favorite dish. Because fish and chips is a one word. Now, going back, fish and chips is my favorite dish. If you say the sentence slowly, as I've spoken earlier, you clearly hear all three separate words. Fish and chips. But when people speak this sentence in a natural way, they often change it and say fish and chips. Fish and chips is my favorite dish. Here, the word and changes very much and becomes just N, letter N. What happens is that the short vowel sound completely disappears, and very often the D consonant sound that is at the end of and, the word and, it also disappears. So your mouth simply connects the N sound directly to the next word, which is chips. This is a very, very common way that speakers join words like fish and chips together very quickly. It helps them say these kinds of phrases very smoothly, which without really needing to stop and make the full sounds for and. So this makes your speech much more continuous and easy. It lets the words flow together as one long stream. Okay? So that is it for this one. Okay. All right. We shall continue with another the last sentence. Okay? We have here. Okay, for a moment. I think the slide is not showing. Let me just check it. Is it showing? Okay, it is not showing for a moment. Let me just fix it. I don't know what is happening. I keep having this technical error. That's why it's really important, everyone, that I pause for a moment. Okay, it's all good. I pause for a moment just to check if my screen is really visible in your end because I keep talking here and my screen would not be visible. That would not be, it would be a waste of time. Anyway, it's all good now. I checked it. Okay, all good. Let's continue with the last example. Next time, the full complete sentence. Next time, you should try harder. Again, next time, you should try harder. Next time, you should try harder. Now, in careful speaking, you clearly make and hear the T sound at the very end of the word next, right? Your tongue, it touches behind your teeth and then you release it. But when people speak this sentence naturally, they often say next time. You should try harder. Next time you should try harder. Just like what you see in the elided version, this one. Next time you should try harder. Now, here the T sound in next, it blends with the T sound in the word time. What happens is that the T sound at the end of next is not fully produced as a clear separate sound. Instead, it either completely disappears or it blends so smoothly into the T sound at the beginning of the word time, which which is in this case it is that you only hear one continuous T sound or no clear T sound at all. So your tongue it prepares for the T in time without needing to fully release the T sound from the next. This makes the two words next and time really flow together as one very smooth sound. Okay? Almost like next time. It almost like next without T sound. Okay? It truly helps your mouth move from the end of one word to the beginning of the next word without any stops, which makes the whole phrase much quicker and much more natural to say. So this is the last example. We had five examples all in all, five example sentences. Now these many everyday examples it clearly show us the exact ways that elision works in real sentences. They help us clearly see how sounds that are fully present when we say words alone can disappear or blend when we speak at a normal or quick speed. So this natural plus process it helps people make sounds flow very smoothly, and it makes words simpler and of course quicker to say, which is very natural and important part of how spoken English sounds in real conversations. Like it happens automatically to make speaking easier. Okay? All right. For a moment. All right. Again, that is the last sentence for today. And yeah, that is the last example sentence. But of course, it's very important that we only not try to see the sentences on its own. We try to also see it happen in a paragraph. So we shall move on with an example paragraph that we have here. Yes. Okay. Let me just go on next. All right. So we have here so we will be having, I guess, two paragraphs. I don't know. I couldn't remember how many I prepared. But yeah, we are going to have the first paragraph, which is on the context daily routine. It's very simple. There are just, few sentences that makes up the paragraph, and after the paragraph, the list of elision examples are provided. Okay. All right. Here's the paragraph. Listen closely, and if you wish, you can follow along with me. I get up early every day. I'm gonna take a shower and get dressed quickly. Then I grab a cup of coffee, just a cuppa, and sit at the table. I don't know why, but mornings feel nice when it's quiet. After breakfast, I go out and catch the bus. Sometimes I miss it and have to run. I don't like being late, so I try to leave on time. Let me read it again for better, listening. I get up early every day. I'm gonna take a shower and get dressed quickly. Then I grab a cup of coffee, just a cuppa, and sit at the table. I don't know why, but mornings feel nice when it's quiet. After breakfast, I go out and catch the bus. Sometimes I miss it and have to run. Where am I? Sometimes I miss it and have to run. I don't like being late, so I try to leave on time. Okay, now let's take each specific example of elision that is already clearly pointed out for us right here in this paragraph on the slide. For each example, I want you to first say the original full, very clear phrase. Then I want you to actively practice saying the elided version many times. And while you practice, truly pay attention to how your mouth feels and how the sound is dropped and how this makes the entire phrase feel easier, quicker, and much smoother to say. Okay, let's start our detailed practice with the very first example. I'm gonna. Again, I'm gonna. This comes from the full and original phrase going to. We've already talked about this earlier. When we naturally and say gonna, the entire middle part of going to, which is the oi sound and often the ng sound, it simply disappears completely. So this disappearance, it helps us speak much faster, and it makes the phrase flow extremely easily from our mouth, which saves us a great deal of effort in our mouth movements. Now let's try practicing this together. First, say very slowly and clearly, I am going to make a shower. I'm going to take a shower. Make sure you feel all the sounds. Now let's practice the natural elided form. Try saying this many times, focusing on the smoothness. I'm gonna take a shower. I'm gonna take a shower. Feel how your mouth does not have to work as hard to make the intermediate sounds, flowing straight into na. Okay? Next, let's carefully examine the second example, kappa. Okay? Kappa. The shortened word comes from the full and clear phrase cup of. In kappa, the F sound in of is completely and totally dropped, and the vowel sound that normally comes with it, the word of, it also changes and very often it disappears. So this specific type of elision, it frequently happens when words are not stressed or are said very quickly, especially in a relaxed, informal way of speaking. It allows the P sound of cup to link directly with a sound. Okay, now let's try practicing this. First, say very slowly and distinctly, I grab a cup of coffee. Feel the F sound clearly. Now practice the natural elided form. Try this multiple times, noticing the simplicity. I grab a cup of coffee. I grab a cup of coffee. Feel how the F sound is simply gone, making it much easier to say. Third, dunno. Very simple. This is very common elided word, comes from the full and original phrase don't know. In dunno, both the T sound from don't and often the uh, K sound from no are completely and entirely left out. This makes it incredibly much faster to say and significantly helps the entire sentence flow seamlessly. So this particular kind of elision, it happens very often when there are many consonant sounds in a row, such as the NTK sounds that are present in the full phrase don't know. Now for our practice, first say very slowly and make all the sounds clear. I do not know why. Feel the T and K sounds. K is silent here. Now practice the natural elided version. Focus on the E's. I don't know why. Feel how effortless it is for your mouth to make the no sound without the T. No? Next, we move on to the fourth example. Have to. Now this common elided form, it comes from the full phrase have to. Here, the V sound in have, it's very often completely disappears, and the to part becomes a very short ta sound. This is another excellent example of how elision works to save mouth movement and makes the words, connect directly to, what do you call that? Connects directly to, where am I? It connects directly to it connects incredibly easily in continuous speech. So your mouth avoids making the V sound altogether. Okay? Now let's practice this. First, say very slowly and distinctly. Sometimes I miss it and have to run. In natural elided form, sometimes I miss it and have to run. Observe how the flow is much more continuous and natural without the V sound. Finally, let's look at the last example noted in this paragraph, don't like. Now the slide clearly notes that this involves a possible elision of the T sound. Sometimes when T sound is at the very end of a word, like in don't, and the very next word starts with a similar sound, or if the words are said very quickly, the T sound might become very quiet, or it might even disappear almost entirely. This specific type of elision is especially true and common in very relaxed and informal ways of speaking. So your tongue might simply not make the full T contact. Okay? For our final practice point, let's say, I don't like being late. Try to say it naturally. I don't like being late. I don't like being late. It's almost, the letter T sound is almost disappearing. Okay? Let's move on to the next and last paragraph that we're going to have here, which is the context at the restaurant. Okay? Now, the paragraph is, listen closely and feel free to follow along as I read. Yesterday, I went to my favorite place for lunch. I ordered fish and chips and cold soda. The waiter said they bring it in 10 minutes, but it came faster. I didn't eat much all morning, so I'm gonna finish every bite. My friend said he'd join me but he was busy. I told him to come next time. We'll try the camera on my phone and take a picture. Now let's take a closer look at the specific examples of elision that are clearly marked for us within this paragraph on the slide. First, we have here fish and chips. Fish and chips. Now this comes from the full phrase fish and chips. Here the word and becomes just letter N. The A sound and the D sound of the word and are typically left out, so this makes it much easier, faster to link fish directly to chips, which often happens with unstressed words like and they are said quickly. Okay, let's try practicing. I ordered fish and chips. Okay, in the elided form, I ordered fish and chips. Fish and chips. Okay, feel how your mouth moves smoothly from fish directly to and chips. Okay, next we have I'm gonna. A very simple. I'm just not gonna go through really detailed on this because I've mentioned it a while ago already multiple times. So I'm gonna comes from the full phrase going to. So we've already mentioned how it became like that. Let's just try to practice this one. First, say the full sentence. I am going to finish every bite. It's elided form. I'm gonna finish every bite. Okay. Third example, we have here told him. Told him. Now this comes from the full phrase told him. Here, the H sound at the beginning of him is dropped. This happens very often with unstressed words that start with letter H, like him, her, or has, especially when they follow a consonant sound. So dropping the H makes it easier to link the two words together without a stop. Okay? For our practice, first we say it very slowly and make all the sounds clear, which meaning the full, complete version. I told him to come next time. I told him to come next time. Now practice the natural elided version. Say it repeatedly, feeling how your mouth connects the D directly to the E sound. Okay? I told him to come next time. I told him to come next time. Then we have camera. Okay, I've also mentioned it multiple times already. Now this comes from the full word camera. Again, the sound that is removed here is the schwa sound or the sound. Okay, let's try to practice the full complete sentence. We'll try the camera and on my phone. We'll try the camera on my phone. In its elided form, we'll try the camera on my phone. We'll try the camera on my phone. Finally, look at didn't eat. Now this slide notes this is possible drop T in didn't. When a T sound is at the end of word like didn't, especially before another word starting with a vowel sound like eat, the T can be very light or completely dropped. So this allows the N sound of didn't to connect directly to the eat sound, which creates a very smooth flow. This often happens in relaxed informal speech, okay? Let's try to say the full sentence first. I didn't eat much all morning. In its elided form, it might the feel how the T might be very light or not fully pronounced, almost disappearing. I didn't eat much morning. I didn't eat much. I didn't eat much. I didn't eat much morning. I didn't eat much morning. Okay. All right, that's the last paragraph that we're going to have for today, and I think that is a wrap up for today's session, everyone. You all did an excellent job with this comprehensive practice, working with full paragraphs like this one, as well as the sentences that we have had earlier. It truly helps you to not only hear but also deeply feel how elision is a constant, natural, and essential part of spoken English. So we have spent a great deal of time today truly understanding one very important part of how English sounds when people speak it naturally, which is elision. So this part of our lecture, it helps us see how sounds are changed or disappeared to make speech easier and more flowing. So elision, again, it is a key part of how words come together in connected speech. It helps everything link up smoothly. Now, what we have learned about sounds dropping out, like we discussed with I don't know, gonna, camera, gives us strong base. It shows us how natural spoken English saves effort and keeps a steady rhythm when words connect. So this understanding is very important because it helps us both understand native speakers better and also helps our own speaking sound more natural. We truly see how fluent English works beyond just saying each word by itself. Tomorrow, we will take the next very important step in our journey to understand how spoken English really works, we will move on to another main part of our connected speech, which is on assimilation. Just like elision, assimilation also shows how sounds change when they are next to each other in fast, natural speech. It is another way that English speakers make their words flow easily from one to the next. So, tomorrow we will deeply explore what assimilation is, why it happens, and look at many clear examples of how sounds change because of it. We will see how sounds take on qualities of their neighbors, like blending together in a slightly different way than elision. This will build on everything we have covered today about elision and the natural flow of spoken English. We will continue to break down these ideas into very simple steps, which makes sure everyone understand how these changes help people speak English in a smooth and natural way. I look forward to continuing this important discussion with you tomorrow as we learn about assimilation. Thank you and have a great day or have a great night ahead, everyone. Goodbye.